We cut through the noise to get you closer to what's really driving the conversation.
Yeah, and today we're jumping into quite a tangle. It's legal, it's political, all happening in the Nigerian Senate.
Absolutely. We're looking at a pretty significant federal high court judgment. It's about Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan and her 6-month suspension.
That's right.
So our goal here is to, unpack what the court actually decided, why they decided it, and what this might mean for, well, legislative power and representing the citizens.
And we've got several news reports, different angles to piece this together.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning. This whole thing kicked off back in March 2025, right? Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan gets suspended for 6 months.
Correct. She represents Kogi Central, PDP. The official reason given was gross misconduct.
Gross misconduct. That sounds serious, but what did it actually involve?
It apparently stemmed from a run-in with the Senate President, Godswill Akpabio. It was about, of all things, where she was supposed to sit in the chamber.
A seating arrangement. That seems minor to lead to a 6-month suspension.
Well, it escalated significantly. Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan then went on national TV.
Okay.
And she made some very serious accusations against Akpabio, alleging he was punishing her for rejecting alleged sexual advances.
Wow, okay. That changes the dynamic completely. And Akpabio denied this.
Vehemently denied it, yes. Her petition to the Senate about it was dismissed, so she took it to court.
Which brings us to this federal high court ruling in early July 2025. Justice Binta Nyako presided. What was the core finding?
The big headline is that the court nullified the suspension, called it excessive.
Excessive. So the court agreed the Senate could suspend her, just not for that long.
Sort of. Justice Nyako actually took issue with the Senate's own rules, specifically Chapter 8 of their standing rules and Section 14 of the Legislative House's Powers and Privileges Act.
And what was wrong with those rules?
The problem, according to the judge, was that they were overreaching because they gave the Senate power to suspend members, but crucially, didn't set any maximum time limit for that suspension.
So it left the door open for potentially indefinite, or at least very long, suspensions without clear boundaries.
Exactly. Unlimited power, essentially. And the court really zeroed in on what that meant for democracy.
How so? What was the connection?
It came down to representation. The judge emphasized that, yes, the Senate needs to maintain discipline, but disciplinary actions can't just wipe out a constituency's voice in Parliament.
Right, 6 months, 180 days out of a legislative year.
Yeah.
That's only, 181 days?
Precisely. So suspending her for almost the entire session effectively meant the people of Kogi Central had no senator representing their interests for that period. The court saw that as unacceptable.
Okay, so the suspension is overturned based on flawed rules and the principle of representation. But I heard it wasn't all good news for the senator.
No, it wasn't a clean sweep. The court actually found Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan guilty of contempt of court.
Contempt. For what?
It was about a Facebook post she made back in April. She posted something described as a satirical apology, which apparently violated an earlier court order related to the case.
Interesting. So what were the consequences for that?
She was ordered to publish a proper, unreserved apology in 2 national newspapers and on her Facebook page and do it within 7 days, plus a fine of N5 million.
So she wins on the suspension but gets penalized for contempt. It's quite layered. Did the court say anything else about the Senate's general powers?
It did. The court affirmed that the Senate does have the constitutional authority to discipline its members. It also said the Senate president assigning her a seat was lawful and sending her case to the Ethics Committee was valid procedure.
And trying to speak from the wrong seat was against the rules.
Yes, the court upheld those aspects of the Senate's internal governance.
Okay, so with this mixed ruling, how did the Senate react? Are they welcoming her back immediately?
Not so fast. According to their spokesperson, Yemi Edamarodu, he stated pretty clearly they won't reinstate her right away.
Oh, what's the holdup?
They're basically saying she needs to fulfill her part of the judgment, first the apologies, and paying that N5 million fine.
So the ball is in her court, according to the Senate.
That seems to be their position. They'll only discuss her return after she complies. And their lawyer, Paul Dauda, even framed it as a partial victory for the Senate.
How did he figure that?
He argued the court didn't explicitly order reinstatement, just made a comment, an obiter dictum, he called it, that the suspension might have been excessive. A non-binding remark in his view.
Fascinating spin. So looking beyond the immediate case, what are the broader implications here?
Well, you had figures like former VP Atiku Abubakar praising the judgment and the senator for fighting back, highlighting, the vulnerability women can face in these political arenas.
And this isn't the first time a senator has successfully challenged a suspension in court, is it?
Not at all.
Yeah.
It puts Akpoti-Uduaghan alongside others like Ali Ndoum in 2017 and Ovi Omo-Age in 2018. It really reinforces this pattern of the judiciary acting as a check on potential legislative overreach.
So for you listening, this case is a really clear example of that tension, that balance between the power of the legislature, the review power of the courts, and maybe most importantly, your right to be represented.
It shows how legal challenges can force institutions to justify their actions, especially when those actions risk silencing a whole group of constituents.
Definitely. It leaves us with something to think about, doesn't it?
Hmm.
As we watch this unfold, what does it really tell us about where the lines are drawn for parliamentary power? And maybe more critically, how do we ensure that the power structures we have actually protect democratic representation, not undermine it?